Hey, what's up everyone? This is Silver Slayer and welcome to your daily silver stacking video. Thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. I'm doing a massive, and I mean massive, 50,000 subscriber silver giveaway. You do not want to miss it, so make sure you're subscribed. Plus, I make daily videos. That should be the main reason you subscribe. Who is going to be in the under 50K sub club? Is it going to be you? Are you going to be one of the OG silver stacking subscribers on this channel? Because most people probably find me in a couple of years once silver's mainstream, but we are the 0.999% as Wall Street Silver calls us. Now, can the government confiscate our silver? I mean, they've done it with gold before, so why not silver? Actually, throughout history, several different countries across the world have confiscated people's gold. And this article is cool because it goes over all the different times that countries and governments have taken the people's gold. And how possible is that heading forwards with silver, especially since the government needs silver a lot more than they need gold? Back in the day, not so much, because gold was more of a monetary thing. When they did confiscate the gold, it was for those reasons. But nowadays, with a silver shortage and the astronomically high demand we're going to have moving forwards with the Green New Deal, electric vehicles, right? Because we always talk about the silver shortage pushing silver up to like $100 or $500 or whatever. But have we ever thought about the aftermath? Yeah, silver's up to those crazy highs, but they still aren't going to have silver to make those solar panels that we need. What are they going to do? Just put the Green New Deal on pause, or just cancel it, or just stop making the newest, latest Tesla? No, that silver is going to come from somewhere, whether it's space mining, whether it's finding new ways to be more efficient, digging it out of the ground, or the silver that's in our safes, or in our safety deposit box, or in that shoebox under your bed, or in that hole in your backyard, right? They're going to get it some way and somehow, even if they have to confiscate it. Now, I did go over a video a couple months ago where the government actually banned silver. They banned the act from buying silver on the COMEX. You literally could not buy silver. And it shot the price from $50 down to like $9. And that was in that was in 1980 during the Hunt brothers cornering the market. The Hunt brothers owned up to 77% of the global silver supply and tried to turn all those contracts on the COMEX in for physical delivery. And the government was like, no. We're going to put a stop to that. They made a law on the spot, confiscate or banning silver so they can get it back. Now, could they take just such drastic measures today? I definitely think they could, especially since now more than ever we need silver, right? Silver is the new gold, whether you want to like it or not or admit it. Silver is the new gold. Gold is only used for jewelry and stuff. Silver has a much more meaningful, impactful, reason to be called quote unquote valuable. So anyways, the link to this article will be in the description. I also have another article that's that JM Bullion posted, talking about, if the government could. And this first one this is definitely the better one. There's also a video attached. But and by the way, I would love to hear your thoughts on this, your opinion. Do you think that one day they could confiscate gold or silver? Do you think that it's possible? And if you do think it's possible, how realistic do you think it is? Or do you think that there's no way? There's no way, because back in 1980, I bet they would have never thought that they would put out Silver Rule 7, which was banning silver. Or, I bet they would have never thought that. Or the Executive Order 6102 that FDR put out. And the newspaper article for that is so funny. In the newspaper, it said, turn in your gold or you will get a $10,000 fine or up to 10 years in prison. And that's crazy. Imagine being a gold stacker, an investor, reading the newspaper and it says turn in your gold or you can go to prison, right? That would just be so insane to live in that time frame. But regardless, let's jump into this very interesting video. So one concern of retail precious metals investors is the possibility of a gold confiscation. Imagine having the forethought to buy gold to shield your finances from an economic or monetary crisis, only to have it taken away from you by your own government. you'd lose not just the protective buffer you put in place, but potentially a chunk of your net worth. So what is gold confiscation, right? This seems like a myth, but it's crazy that this has happened time and time again. And it's not the way you think. It's not like the government kicks down your door, checks the house to see if you have a safe, and then it's not like that. It's more so they put something out saying, turn in all your gold to the nearest bank or whatever, and yes, they will pay it. They'll pay you for it, but they're still making you have to sell it. So when let's start right. So gold confiscation may sound preposterous to investors used to securities or real estate, but it's happened in the past enough times to make it reasonable concern for those uneasy about unsolvable debt levels, runaway government spending, and continual central bank money creation. And that's the scariest part when you see these interest rates, when you see, all of the quantitative easing and all the everything nowadays. If they were going to put out gold or silver confiscation, it would be from the situation that's been happening over the last year and a half. Like they said, unsolvable debt levels, government spending, continual central bank money creation. That is what's happening to a T right now. When a grab is made for people's savings, governments don't bother to confiscate instruments like stocks, bonds, savings. Those can be wiped simply out by devaluing the currency. But when times are really tough, governments have requested citizens to turn over their gold, the one asset they've historically been unable to control since it's not someone else's liability. When gold confiscation happens, or when a gold confiscation happens, there unfortunately aren't a lot of viable solutions. If your government declares it illegal to own a meaningful amount of bullion, you'd have little choice but to comply. Either that or play the role of a fugitive with the prospects of financial penalties, forcible confiscation of your metal, and even jail time waiting for you. Many investors believe gold won't be confiscated today because it's not part of the monetary system like it was during the U.S. nationalization in 1933 under Roosevelt. And it's interesting even that when the Hunt brothers, when they owned all that silver and the government banned silver, the reason the Hunt brothers weren't investing in the gold is because it was illegal to buy gold at that time. They had to turn to silver. So it's not like the markets haven't always been like they are today. There was times where you couldn't buy gold. It was illegal to hold gold. They banned silver. They're confiscating your gold and silver. This is pretty crazy to think about. Debt in all developed countries is unpayable, for example, especially when you add in unfunded liabilities. Where could the government get funds to service it all? One source could definitely be gold. The sober reality is, while lower than in the past, the risk of gold confiscation is not zero. The world today can be an uncertain place, and once we're quote unquote local, issues can rapidly escalate and have global consequences. This does not mean, however, that we are suggesting a gold confiscation is imminent or even probable, simply that it could happen if one or a series of events having significant worldwide implications occur. And what they're saying, it could definitely be probable if a series of events having significant worldwide implications occur. Is that happening right now? So is it more probable than if this virus didn't happen? It's a lot more probable now, ladies and gentlemen, especially with silver, since there's already a silver shortage. Without official gold backing on most major currencies today, the specific motivation to quote unquote confiscate gold that existed during many previous confiscations barely exists today. But you'll see, even that hasn't stopped modern governments without a gold standard from doing the same, right? And this is because currency controls to slow down market-driven devaluation. So these solutions to confiscation risk. So there's a lot of speculation floating around the web about what one might do if gold was confiscated again. Unfortunately, the majority of the most common solutions don't hold up to much scrutiny. So, one, some investors assume silver would be exempt. And that's usually because past confiscations mainly focused on gold, since silver wasn't part of the monetary system. However, what many investors don't know is that a year after 1933 confiscation order, President Roosevelt signed Executive Order 6814 that required the delivery of all silver to the United States for coinage. So they did not only the Gold Confiscation Act, the Executive Order 6812 or 6 whatever, they also did a silver one. They confiscated silver. Many dealers claim numismatic coins would be excluded. Since there was an exception made for rare coin collectors in 1933, but as history will show during past confiscations, the onus was the investor to prove they were a coin collector and not a bullion buyer. Unless you owned a substantial amount of rare coins, you were automatically deemed a bullion owner, not a collector. The uncomfortable truth is no one knows exactly what form of a confiscation could take or how new laws might be enforced. And that's part of the problem. As Mike Maloney said in his best-selling book, Guide to Investing in Gold and Silver, confiscation all comes down to this. Government makes the rules, changes the rules, and enforces the rules. Though it lacks the moral right, it can create legal authority. Though it lacks the constitutional empowerment, it can turn a blind eye to the Constitution. The Constitution did not stop the government from taking people's gold in 1933. I mean, and especially looking at the Silver Rule 7, that law they made on the spot just to stop the Hunt brothers. I mean, they've done it several times. Political leaders can and will do whatever they deem necessary at the time, in any way they see it, for as long as they think it's needed. When the gold investors or these investors are considered the number of ways confiscation could take place, how long it could last, how easily the government could change the rules, and how deeply it could reach, all against the backdrop of an economic or monetary crisis, it underscores the need to put a viable strategy in place. What's really viable is a lesson best learned by the mistakes and success of the past. So why gold confiscation could happen? It's happened before. Since 1933, there have been a few notable gold confiscations around the world. The specific circumstances varied, but there was one common thread to all of them. They all arose out of a financial crisis. As government coffers dwindled and reached emergency levels, politicians didn't hesitate to grab the net worth of private citizens, and in many cases, it was portrayed as patriotic. Your country is threatened. Help save your nation, right? Of course, they're going to spin it that way. Here are some gold confiscations that occurred within the last 80 years. Here's the gold confiscation in 1933, the Executive Order 6102, FDR signed, and it was forbidding hoarding of gold coin or gold bullion or gold certificates. And it basically meant private owners, blah, 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 and they would buy it back, or they will buy it from you at $20.67 per ounce. So why did he do this? The U.S. was on a gold standard at the time, so hoarding was seen as a threat to the stability of the country's financial system. Remember how bad things got? Banks were shut, and unemployment soared, breadlines formed, civil unrest grew. Government couldn't make its debt payments. Roosevelt desperately needed to remove the constraint from the Federal Reserve that prevented it from increasing the money supply from the Great Depression. So within 9 months after making gold illegal to own, the president raised the official price to $35 an ounce. Dollar, though these ex-gold owners received in exchange, had just been devalued by 40% overnight. I mean, imagine that. And then also, you got to remember, in 1930, when he got in office, the gold to silver ratio went from 16 to 1 to 75 to 1. I mean, he single-handedly devalued silver. So, did FDR confiscate gold in 1933? During the Great Depression, FDR nationalized the gold holdings of U.S. citizens. He did not, however, confiscate gold. This is a common misconception. Instead, citizens were compensated for what they voluntarily turned over to the government, which is not true because in the, and even right here, oh, but this was another one maybe? Hold on. Under the Trading with an Enemy Act of 1917, as later amended by the Emergency Banking Act of March 9, 1933, violation under the order was punishable, fine up to $10,000 or up to 10 years in prison, or both. Numerous individuals and companies were prosecuted. Worse, the ban on private ownership of gold in America, the home of the free, lasted over 4 decades. Not until January 1st, 1975, could U.S. citizens own more than $100 in gold again. I mean, man, like, imagine that. Over 4 decades, 40 years, it was illegal to own gold until 1975. I mean, it's just insane. So now here we have the Australia gold confiscation in 1959. So the law, part of the Banking Act in 1959, allowed gold seizures of private citizens if the government or if the governor determined it was expedient to do so, for the protection of the currency or the public credit of the Commonwealth. In other words, they made it legal to seize gold from private citizens and exchange it for paper currency, which is worthless, though. It's like, yeah, we'll buy it back from you, though. But they know that the dollars that they're giving that person in exchange is worthless. That's why they're needing the gold and giving you the money. They're switching because they don't want the money. They don't want the dollars. They want the real value. The country's treasurer stated in a press release that followed all gold other than raw gold coins to a limited extent had to be delivered to the Reserve Bank of Australia within 1 month of its coming into a person's possession. The law also said you weren't allowed to sell gold except to the reserve banks, and that's how most of them go. You have to turn it in to the the banks. So while it's unclear whether or not the country moved ahead with these active seizures, or just how many citizens complied, the law still destroyed the local private gold market overnight. Like the U.S. ban, this rule wasn't short-lived either. Reports indicate it stayed on the books until 1976, a full 17 years before being suspended. Then we have Great Britain's gold ban in 1966. Ever since Great Britain went off the gold standard in 1931, the currency had been falling. As a decline stretched from years into decades, many investors began to store gold overseas, worried their country might never recover. Who could blame them? Their standard of living was threatened. And then to stem the decline of the pound sterling, 1966, the government banned private citizens from owning more than 4 precious metal coins. I mean, that's ridiculous. It also blocked imports of gold. And that's a common move to keep currency from being exported, similar to modern day tariffs on gold imports in places like India. The only exemption to owning more than 4 coins was to prove you were a collector. You were required to apply for a license, and then an officer from the Bank of England would determine if you were a true collector, or if not, we'll take your bullion. Thank you very much. And I'm sure a lot of these true collectors were being turned down and still declined. So the important distinction about this gold ban, it was not when they were under a gold standard, right? This was just like it could happen today. We're not under a gold standard today. And when it's happened to Great Britain, they weren't under a gold standard either. So it's not just when a country is under a gold standard. Like most confiscations, this law lasted a full 13 years. See any patterns here? These 3 gold confiscations have something in common. They all were, 1, imposed by Western governments, 2, arose out of economic crisis, 3, lasted for a long time, and 4, completely forbid any type of hoarding of bullion. And those 3 weren't just the only ones. There's many other ones. Italy's gold donation, quote unquote, Germany's confiscation of the Czech gold, Saddam and Fidel, Russia. There's lots of different situations. It's not like it just happened a couple of times. I mean, it's been several different instances. I mean, I don't want to go over every single one of these, or this video would be extremely long, but if you did want to check out all of this stuff, the link to these articles will be in the description. But Benito Mussolini, prime minister turned dictator, tried to fight a nasty recession by introducing the Gold for the Fatherland initiative in 1935. He encouraged the public to voluntarily donate their gold rings, necklaces, other forms of gold to the government. In exchange, citizens received a steel wristband that bore the proud words and translated Gold for the Fatherland. It said that even his wife, Rochelle, donated her own wedding ring in a show of solidarity. The gold was melted down and made into bars, then distributed in the country's banks. The government netted 35 tons, or 1.23 million ounces, from citizens' donations. Wow. Germany's confiscation of Czech gold. So this was obviously some stuff that I can't even say this guy's name, but you can see it right there. Pulled a tricky scheme in 1939 after the invasion of the Czechoslovakia the year before. The Bank of International Settlements, a German no less, instructed the Bank of England transfer $5.6 million from the Czech National Bank to the other bank. And even though the gold belonged to the Czechoslovakian government, even though the English authorities had been warned of the possible transfer, it went through without a hitch. To mask the theft, Germany's central bank understands its official reserves that year, or later that year. Man. So this also happened in Iraq. Um, Confiscated gold, art, jewelry, and they took whatever they wanted at the point of a sword or gun. I mean, this is crazy. Russia. Uh, let's see. There was private ownership any form. See, these are like more extreme versions. Like this is like some movie scene type stuff. Like they could make a movie. I'm sure they have. But the first three were very political, and were more of how it would happen today. So here's proven solutions. So out of jurisdiction, storing gold and silver, government is less likely to be able to reach it quickly and easily is a smart buffer to put in place. Keeping it outside of the banking system is a good step. Many references cite how banks have been known to how to make a path of lending it out to someone other than its rightful owner, putting it at systematic risk. So another step further removed is storing it overseas. That's not proven to be bulletproof, though. A desperate government could just as well declare all personal gold holdings be taken regardless of where they're stored. Man, so the Elizabeth Taylor solution. So you probably know that the Queen of Silver screen loved jewelry. Her collection fetched over $156 million after she passed. Various points. So the circumstance remains true today. You likely know that when crossing borders, travelers are often required to complete customs paperwork, and I know that because a lot of the winners of my giveaways live in different countries, and I've filled out so many customs forms. I've paid so much money. Where was the one guy that won? He lived in man, I think it was one of them was Egypt. I think this guy was like Iraq or something, but oh my gosh, I had to pay so much money, and he barely, I don't even know if he received it because the government was like so like it was crazy. Like it was honestly insane. He had to like drive like hours out to this bank and prove, and I had to send him a thing of the video of him winning, and like, man. But anyways, that kind of reminded me of it. But yeah, so since gold jewelry isn't considered a financial asset under U.S. law, it does not require reporting. So you and your loved ones can employ your very own Elizabeth Taylor solution. So I want to see what the solution was, though. Anything over $10,000 for travel to and from the U.S. example. New rules specifically mention gold. Also, that the price of gold determines if you are at the reporting limit. That means 7 ounces of gold would be maximum you could carry at $1,300 an ounce. So you'd be at risk with 5 coins if gold reaches $2,000 an ounce. So yeah, you just have to be smart. So what about confiscation? As history shown, in the developed world, gold confiscations have targeted monetary metals like coins and bars. Jewelry was spared. So man, so yeah, this is pretty serious stuff. I don't know if it would happen again. I don't want to scare you all thinking that the government's about to take all your silver. So, it's definitely possible, but is it going to happen? Probably not, unless things get a lot more severe. So here's some reasons it could happen. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value. In fact, the U.S. dollar has been declining for years. The dollar's status as a reserve currency of the world is being threatened. And I mean, fiat currencies fail over time. Paper currencies lose their purchasing power, and the only thing backing the government or the United States is gold. It's the only reason we're the richest country in the world. So, I mean, it's definitely a situation that we should have in the back of our minds, but not freak out and worry and panic over. It's just something that, it is possible. Anything's possible, especially right now. We're living in crazy times, so expect crazy things to happen. So anyways, yeah, I'm going to link these 2 articles in the description if you want to check them out yourself. If you thought this video was 1, educational, 2, informational, 3, at least entertaining, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed if you want a chance to win some silver for my 50K giveaway. Also, all my giveaways after that, if you're subscribed, from now on, you're always going to get a whole bunch of chances to win silver. I mean, who wouldn't want that? Yeah, I'm going to wrap this video up here. Thanks for tuning in. This is Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.